Cafe Royale. I am your station announcer, and my name is Henrietta Winklestrop. I can't spell it either. I have to tell you that Tarquin Trent, my colleague in previous transmissions, will not be on air this year. Yay! He has been offered a new contract and moved on to greater things. We wish him well, but I am sure that his spirit is with us this evening during the performance. Oh yes, it is. I hope you have settled in and feeling relaxed and are willing with eager anticipation for what we have lined up for you tonight. As you may know from previous performances, we like our live audiences here in the studio to get just a little bit involved throughout the show so that our listeners at home may share in the family atmosphere. To do this, we want you to join in with a radio call tune, or jingle if you like, every time you hear it. The words are on the front cover of your logo, and if you haven't got one, it's not too late, still one available over there. For any new listeners, or for those who have forgotten, we're going to have a short practice of the jingle before we go on air. So, Flossie, over to you. Go on air. This is Radio HaHa coming to you from the Cafe Royale, transmitting on 69 to 92 FM, not on digital and not online. The station announcer for this evening. I am delighted to tell you that we have a live audience here in the studio. You may be able to hear from them in due course. And before I introduce to you our very first guest, I would just like to remind you of our message of the day. Smiling is infectious. You catch it like the flu. When someone smiled at me today, I started smiling too. I passed around the corner and someone saw my grin. When he smiled, I realized I'd passed it on to him. I thought about that smile and then realized its worth. A single smile just like mine could travel around the earth. So if you feel like a smile begin, don't leave it undetected. Let's start an epidemic quick and get the world infected. So, good listeners, I hope you'll all be smiling or even laughing throughout the show and in the days ahead, passing it on to all those you meet and those around you. And now, for our very first item of the evening. It's a musical item, and I am delighted to introduce to you once again a singer who made her debut with us last year. She is Melody Time, and she's going to sing a song for us that you may recognise the tune, but the words may be unfamiliar to you. It's called My Favourite Things, and she'll be accompanied by our own kitten on the keys, Amanda Lynn. So ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you our first guest for tonight, Melody Time. And we look forward to hearing from you again later in the show, if you get there something. Steady now, steady. Wonderful. Just keep taking the pills, darling. Now it's time to go over to our news desk where Paige Turner is waiting to give you the latest news. Thank you, Paige. Over to you.
Thank you. Here is today's news. The police were called to a house in Shippey this morning where a woman was extremely distressed. She claimed that her breakfast had been attacked while she was out of the room. She'd left the room to answer the phone in the hallway. The police asked if she'd touched anything, but she was able to confirm that everything was exactly as she found it. When asked if she could describe the intruder, she admitted that she did not see anyone. When asked to describe the damage, she reported that her soft-boiled soldier had been crushed and a cornflakes packet was smashed. The police could only draw the conclusion that it must have been the work of a serial killer. A distressing piece of news from the court reports in America tell of a man who worked on the buses. He pushed a passenger off the bus, ending in this man's tragic death. He was found guilty and sentenced to the electric chair. The prisoner was asked for his final request, which was a bunch of green bananas, which he duly ate. To the amazement of the witnesses, the execution failed and the prisoner was released. He returned to his job on the buses, and incredible though it may sound, exactly the same thing happened again. So he was released and returned yet again to the job, until another fatal accident took place. For the third time, everything happened as before, and the executioner was getting really angry. He approached the prisoner and asked what the secret was, as he suspected the green bananas had somehow saved the life. No, replied the prisoner, I'm just a bad conductor. And finally, a statement has been made that after intense research over a period of many years, it has been proved that it wasn't the apple that caused the trouble in the Garden of Eden, it was the pear on the ground.
Thank you, Paige. We'll look forward to hearing from you again later. Now, our next item is an outside report from one of our local bobbies in the Metropolitan Police Force, PC Sandy Beach. He was asked to record a typical day in the life of a policeman, and this is the report he sent to us. PC Sandy Beach.
Oh, what a life to be a policeman. You know, I've been on this beat all day. I haven't had one case yet, not one case. Hello? There is a little boy coming along. I wonder what he wants. Hello, son. What's the matter?
Can you tell me where I can find a policeman, please?
I beg your pardon?
Can you tell me where I can find a policeman, please?
What do you think I am, a sea lion or something? Why? What do you want a policeman for?
Our Herberts fell in the river.
Your Herberts fell in the river? Oh, I am sorry. Really, I
home just now.
Just now? Oh, well, that isn't so bad then. He'll get used to it when he's been in a bit, you know. Has he ever been in a river before?
No.
Oh, well, it'll be a change for him then. Can your Herbert swim?
No.
Oh, well, now's his chance to learn then. Well, I'll take a few particulars down if you don't mind.
But what about our Herbert?
It's all right now, I'm doing my best. I'm going to take it all down. I'm going to get my book out. The above and the right. No, that's the wrong one. This is it.
But what about our Herbert?
All right, now give me a fair chance. Now give me a fair chance. Now, your Herbert is in the river, isn't he?
Yes.
That is one boy in one river. Now, what is your name, please?
It's not me that's in the river, it's our Herbert.
I know all about that. I want to know who you are. I know where your Herbert is. He's in the river. I want to know your name. And anything you say will be taken down and used in your favour against you. Now, what is your name, please?
Percy.
Percy. And where were you born?
London.
Born in London. What part?
All of me.
Another one like that and you'll be where your Herbert is. And do you live in London?
Yes.
Yes, well, how long have you lived in London?
15 years.
15 years. How old are you?
12.
And we don't want any sarcasm at all. And have you lived in London all your life?
Not yet.
You're just about my size, you are, you know. Now, have you got a mother and a father at all?
But what about our Herbert?
I know where he is. He's in the river, isn't he?
Yes.
Well, it's all right. I can't do two things at once. Have you got a mother and father?
I've got a father, but I ain't got a mother.
You haven't got a mother?
No.
Have you never had a mother?
No.
I must put that down. Now, you've got a father, haven't you?
Yes.
Does your father work?
Yes.
Shame. Well, how long has your father been in his present position?
3 months.
3 months. And what is he doing?
6 months. A friend of mine had a hat and she lost it. What's her telephone number?
What are you talking about?
A friend of mine had a hat and she lost it. What's her telephone number?
A friend of yours had a hat and she lost it. What's her telephone number?
Yes.
I don't know. What is it?
Avenue 1.
Avenue 1. I give up.
Another friend of mine had a hat and she lost it. What's her telephone number?
Go on, I'll buy it. What is it?
Avenue 1 2.
Avenue 1, 2. I ought to know better, you know.
Another friend of
I
mine
don't want to hear any more about your friends at all.
had a hat and she lost it.
And I hope she never finds it again.
What's her telephone number?
I don't want to hear any more about your friends, I've told you.
But what about our Herbert?
Oh, yes, your Herbert. Now, your Herbert's lost his telephone number, hasn't he?
No, he's in the river.
Oh, the river, yes. Now, you were there when your Herbert fell in, weren't you?
Yes.
Well, how many times did your Herbert come up?
3 times.
3 times. Oh, well, I don't think you'll be coming up any more then. No, I'm sorry. No, I can't do any more for you now, Percy. So
How tragic, and thank you, Sandy, for your report. You are listening to Radio HaHa, coming to you from Cafe Royale, transmitting on 69 to 92 FM, not on digital and not online. Stranger to our regular listeners, she has appeared on air several times with her skill in bringing humorous poetry to life and giving us another opportunity to raise a smile. So may I welcome back again this evening Rosie Sparkle, who is going to read for you a poem entitled Washing.
Today I was reading about a big ship. Some pirates were there on the deck, when all of a sudden my mother came in and started off washing my neck. Oh, I'm sure that my neck don't want washing. Why should mother always choose me? There's my sister Mary with hair down her back. It hides her neck so you can't see. My mother will look at the back of my ears, and I'll tell you a thing she will do. She takes out a hanky and licks it like this. And she, well, I don't like it, would you? Mother says I should look in the mirror each night to make sure that I'm clean before bed. But I know I'm clean by a much better way. I just look at the towel instead. Oh, I'm sure that my neck don't need washing. I'm sure that it ain't safe at all. I want to take warning from others' mistakes and not in their footsteps to fall. My dad's got his hair off. He's what they call bald. It's all rotted away, it appears, so that now he's all neck to the top of his head. That's through washing the back of his ears. I'm in for some trouble tomorrow. Our vicar is coming to tea. And Ma will look round just to see things all right. There'll be one that's found wanting. That's me. Oh, I'm sure that my neck don't need washing. I'm sure that it's perfectly clean. I washed it last Saturday night in the bath. To wash it again would be mean. I don't see why vicars should visit at all. Then it wouldn't be come along Tom. Why should I be polished up just to please him? Besides, suppose the vicar don't come.
Thank you, Rosie, for that wonderful child's eye view of cleanliness. Now, I must tell you how fortunate we are to have a wonderful team of reporters who have been hard at work since our last broadcast. Our outside broadcast team have excelled themselves this year, and we're about to hear one of their most recent recordings right now. We're about to hear some snippets recorded in a classroom somewhere in a local school since the term began. And so now we're going over to the teacher, Miss Teresa Green, and some children in her classroom.
Now, class, please sit up and pay attention. First, I want to talk about your homework. Jill, where's your homework?
I was mugged on the way to school, and the mugger took everything I had, including my homework.
Can I get into trouble, miss, if I didn't do something?
No, I don't suppose you could.
Good, because I didn't do my homework.
Right, now Joey, please use the word fascinate in a sentence.
I know this. My mum brought me an anorak. I think it was great. But it's got 11 buttons, but I can only fascinate.
Oh dear. Right, what do the letters BC stand for?
Before calculators.
Jane, I've told you before you can't sleep in my lessons.
I could if you didn't talk so loudly.
John, I hope you're paying attention. What are the small rivers that run into the Nile called?
The juveniles.
Now Sally, tell me, do you say your prayers before eating?
No, miss, I don't have to. My mum's a good cook.
Joey, you aren't paying attention to me, lad. Are you having trouble hearing?
No, I'm having trouble listening.
I have a problem too.
That's why you've got a script? You can't remember anything?
I can't remember anything.
How long have you had the problem?
What problem?
Well, we'll see how well you can remember things now, because I want to test your history knowledge. Jill, I feel you aren't doing very well in history. Why is that?
Because you keep asking me about things that happened before I was born.
Yes, well, Pat, tell me, how did the Vikings send secret messages?
By Norse code.
Who can tell me where Hadrian's Wall is?
Why? Has he lost it, miss?
Sally, maybe you can tell me, why were the early days of history called the Dark Ages?
Because there were so many nights.
What kind of lighting did Noah use for the Ark, Jane?
Floodlights.
I don't think I'm having much success today. Jill, can you tell me why was the ghost of Anne Boleyn always running after the ghost of Henry VIII?
Because she was trying to get ahead.
John, what do you think was the first thing Queen Elizabeth did when she ascended to the throne?
Sat down.
Oh dear, Jane, that's quite a cough you have there. What are you taking for it?
I don't know, miss, what you give me?
Sally, do you like coming to school?
Coming bit is fine, and the going home is great, but I'm not too keen on the bit in between.
Well, this is the last question. Think hard and give me 2 answers. Why did King Arthur have a round table, and who invented it?
I know this, so that no one could corner him, and it was made by circumference.
I give up. Out to play.
As we may learn throughout the evening of the show, we do understand that children do say some wonderful things, don't they? Now, we are very fortunate to have with us today in the studio a very special guest, Miss Annette Curtin, who has some good advice for us all. She is to read a poem called When I'm an Old Lady. So welcome, Annette, and thank you.
When I'm an old lady, I'll live with each kid. I'll bring so much happiness, just as they did. I want to pay back all the joy they've provided, returning each deed. Oh, they'll be so excited. No. When I'm an old lady and live with the kids, I'll write on the walls with reds, whites and blues, and I'll bounce on the furniture wearing the shoes. I'll drink from the carton and then leave it out. I'll stuff all the toilets, and oh, how they'll shout. When I'm an old lady and live with me kids. When they're on the phone and just out of reach, I'll get into things like sugar and bleach. Oh, they'll snap their fingers and then shake their head. When that is done, I'll hide under the bed. When I'm an old lady and live with me kids. When they cook dinner and cause me to eat, I'll not eat my green beans or salad or meat, and I'll gag on me yoghurt and spill milk on the table. And when they get angry, I'll run, if I'm able. When I'm an old lady and live with me kids, I'll sit close to the TV. Through the channels I'll click. I'll cross both my eyes and see if they stick. I'll take off my socks and throw one away. And I'll play in the mud till the end of the day. When I'm an old lady and I live with me kids. Later in bed, I'll lay back and sigh. I'll thank God in prayer and then close my eyes. My kids will look down with a smile slowly creeping and say with a groan, she's so sweet when she's sleeping.
Thank you, Annette. Maybe one of our listeners may have already tried that out, or maybe some are planning to put it into practice. Perhaps you could let us know in our next phone-in programme. You are now listening to Radio HaHa, coming to you from Café Royale, transmitting on 69 to 92 FM, not on digital and not online.
Happiest way to spend the day, Radio HaHa.
As I told you earlier in the programme, we have been fortunate to have some wonderful reporters from our outside broadcasters. Now, we'd like to bring to you a report on a recent event which took place on Tor Abbey Sands. The outcome was somewhat dramatic. At the inquiry that followed, a transcript of a telephone conversation was produced. This was between the manager responsible for the beach safety, Mr. Ivor Chart, sitting in his office at the Leisure Department of Torbay Council in the town hall, and a lifeguard who was reporting to him from Tor Abbey Sands.
Hello, Ivor Chart here. Who? Lifeguard Savemore? Oh, hello, Willard. You're a little late reporting in, aren't you, Willard? You found a shell on the beach. You think that's unusual, Willard? Finding a shell on the beach? It's not that kind of shell. What's the matter, Willard? Doesn't it sound like the ocean when you hold it up to your ear? Oh, that kind of shell. Well, I'll tell you what, Willard, I'll send someone down in the morning and we can... Oh, is that right? I was sort of hoping that was your watch making that noise. I'm going to give it to you straight, Willard. You've got a live one there. Willard, don't you dare hang up. And that's an order. And stop that whining. Now, you're perfectly safe, Willard. There's nothing to worry about as long as it's ticking. Well, when it stops ticking, that's something else again. You and I are going to disarm that thing. I've got the instruction manual. Well, no, I'm not coming down there, Willard. Well, I just can't leave the office any time I want to. No! Don't you bring that here, Willard. No. Now look, Willard, I'm taking just as big a chance as you are. I mean, this is my responsibility. If that thing goes off, it's me they're going to want to talk to, do you know? All right, Willard, well then describe it to me. It sounds like some sort of torpedo. Well, it must be one of ours. It says made in Japan. Well, it could still be one of ours, Willard. Is there a serial number or anything? X5307. Oh, I'll just look that up, Willard, and just a minute. Oh boy, you've got a beauty there, Willard. It's very powerful. What do you mean? Well, think in terms of tour station. There's a phone box by the harbour. Willard, stop running away and stop whining. I know this is dangerous, but if we can save one human life... Oh, if that's the way you feel about it. Now look, Willard, just control yourself. According to this, there's a... How long's that thing been ticking? 5 to 6 minutes? Well, nothing, Willard, nothing. It's just that we're going to have to work a bit faster, that's all. Now, according to the manual here, about 6 inches from the tail end, there's the plate. And it's held on by 4 screws. Now, it says, now this is very important, it says, this plate should be removed with an LT5 screwdriver with a plastic handle and a demagnetized tip. You don't have one, Willard? All right, then try a coin. Right, now you've got it off. Boy, this thing sure is complicated. I can't make head and the tails of it at this end, but don't you worry about it. Now listen, there's a little thingamajiggle thing there with a wheel of some kind. Can you try turning the wheel? Oh, I don't know. Turn it to the left and let's see what happens. I can hear it, Willard, and it's turning, it's ticking a lot faster. Well, you better turn it back again. Okay, now let's see about this. There's 2 wires, and it says here that under no condition... Oh dear, somebody spilled coffee on this page. Well, one's a kind of greyish blue and the other's a kind of bluish grey. Willard, who are you talking to? A little boy? Get him out of there. If that thing goes off it... He says it's his. He says it's a toy torpedo. Let me talk to that kid, Willard. He ran down the beach with it. Willard, I think you'd just better come into this office. We ought to have a little talk. You've had me hung up here for 10 minutes because of a kid and... What was that noise? The toy torpedo just sunk a ferry? Oh, well, that's all right, Willard. It's out of our hands now. It's with the Coast Guards.
Thank you, Ivachart, for that transcript. You know, these children seem to be everywhere tonight, don't they? Right, now we're going over for our first visit this evening to the Weather Centre. And our weather girl for today is new to Radio HaHa. We are delighted to have her here on board, and we'd like to welcome Miss Helena Gale. So we look forward to hearing what you have to share with us tonight, Helena. Over to you.
Thank you, Henrietta. The trouble with weather forecasting is that it's right too often for us to ignore it, and wrong too often for us to rely on it. Probably the last completely accurate forecast was when God told Noah there was to be a 100% chance of precipitation. And we all know what happened next. So, as an honest person, I will say that today's forecast is bright and sunny, with an 80% chance that I'm wrong. But please, don't knock the weather. 9/10 of people couldn't start a conversation without it if it didn't change once in a while. And of course, the weather is a great metaphor for life itself. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, and there's nothing much you can do about it but carry an umbrella. It It could be needed today, especially as there is a strong chance of heavy showers near riverbanks. This indicates that there may be some change in the weather. Tomorrow should be generally warm, but on the other hand, there may be some cold spells, so we advise you to wear a glove on your left hand. There is a warning of some foul weather coming too, but the chickens and ducks have been replaced by cats and dogs. But if the temperature drops suddenly and the roads become icy, many drivers could be going for a spin.
Thank you for that, Helena. I can't wait for your next report. Now, in this modern world of technology, I am sure that many of you have labour-saving devices at home or in your place of work. Well, we are delighted today to hear from an old friend of ours, Mr. Percy Vere, who would like to share with you his experiences with that controversial gadget, the sat-nav. So, welcome again, Mr. Percy Vere.
Oh, good evening, Henrietta. And hello, listeners. I have a delightful little story here called An Ode to a Sat-Nav. I have a little sat-nav. It sits there in my car. A sat-nav is a driver's friend. It tells you where you are. I have a little sat-nav. I've had it all my life. It's better than the normal ones. My sat-nav is my wife. It gives me full instructions, especially how to drive. It's 30 miles an hour, it says. You're doing 35. It tells me when to stop and start, and when to use the brake. It tells me that it's never, ever safe to overtake. It tells me when a light is red, and when it goes to green, it seems to know instinctively just when to intervene. It lists the vehicles just in front and all those to the rear, and taking this into account, it specifies my gear. I'm sure no other driver has so helpful a device, for when we leave and lock the car, it still gives its advice. It fills me up with counselling. Each journey's pretty fraught. So why don't I exchange it and get a quieter sort? Ah, well, you see, it cleans the house, makes sure I'm properly fed. It washes all my shirts and things. And keeps me warm in bed. Despite all these advantages, and my tendency to scoff, I do wish that once in a while I could turn the blessed thing off.
Thank you, Percy. Oh, we are now going to benefit again from one of our hard-working roving reporters who has been out in the town recording folk. And we're going to listen to a conversation overheard in Fleet Walk in Torquay at the bus stop.
Hello. How long have you been waiting?
All my life.
Sorry, I mean, which bus are you waiting for?
Well, I'm just waiting for a bus.
Oh, sorry. Can you tell me which one?
Yep,
So, which bus are you waiting for?
the 32.
Ah, me too. I need to get to the hospital.
Oh, that's odd. The woman asked me once how she could get to the hospital.
So, did you tell her?
No, I pushed her in front of a car. It was much quicker than waiting for the bus.
That's terrible!
Oh, well, I didn't really. I was only joking. But I went there once, but I wouldn't do it again.
Why or not? Did you get treated bad?
No, it just took nearly an hour to get there on the 32.
So what do you suggest?
Well, you could try the 33.
Does that stop at the arbour?
Well, if it doesn't, there'll be a very big splash.
Does it go to the hospital?
Yeah, but you have to go to the Willows first.
No, you don't want that one. You want the 65.
No. What about the 66? That's the best one from here.
But it only runs once an hour.
That's true. Of course, there's always the number 12. They're very frequent.
Okay, thanks. How long will the next bus be?
About the same length as the last one.
Oh dear, sorry, I lost my place.
Does it stop?
Thank you. Does it stop here?
No, but if you go around the corner, you can get the 34.
Does that go to the hospital?
It sure does. And you can get to the Willows on that one too.
But I don't want to go to the Willows.
Oh, okay. I was only saying.
Sorry, I didn't mean to be rude.
No, I don't like rudeness either. Do you know, I was in a bus queue the other day when a man walked to the front trying to get on the bus. Well, there was a large crowd with a lot of students who didn't queue orderly, so when he got to the front, the crowd really yelled at him to get to the back. Don't push in and wait your turn, they told him. But you must let me on first, shouted the man. Why? What's so special about you? They asked. I'm the driver.
You know, that reminds me of an experience I had once. A man was standing at a bus stop eating a hamburger. And next to him stood a lady with her little dog, which became very excited at the smell of the man's supper. He was whining and jumping up at him, obviously tempted by the food. Do you mind if I throw him a bit? Said the man to the lady. Oh, not at all, she replied. So the man picked the dog up and threw it over the wall.
Oh dear. Was he hurt?
No, but the lady missed the bus trying to get him back again.
Well, it's all very entertaining, I must say, but not helping me to get to the hospital. I'm very confused now.
Yeah, so was the person responsible for organising our local buses.
I agree. You know, I remember seeing an advert once that told you to take a bus home. Well, what's the point in that? It wouldn't fit in the garage and they'd want it back anyway.
So, please can you advise me now on which bus I should take from here to get to the Royal Devon and Exeter Hospital?
Well, of course. You want the number 11.
Well, it just goes to show you never know who is listening to you when you're standing at a bus stop in Torquay. I am sure that all our listeners are very much aware of the present difficult economic situation that our country finds itself in at the moment. Our political correspondent, Mrs. Sally Forth, has come up with a few helpful suggestions that she has put in a letter she is planning to send to the press. We have asked her to read that letter tonight before she sends it, and then hopefully you, our good listeners, will respond tomorrow in our phone-in programme. So over to you, Mrs. Sally Forth.
Dear Sir, please find below my suggestions for fixing the UK economy. Instead of giving billions of pounds to banks that will squander the money on lavish parties and unearned bonuses, use the following plan. I suggest it be called the Patriotic Retirement Plan. There are about 10 million people over the age of 50 within the workforce. Pay them £1 million each as a severance pay for early retirement with the following stipulations. They must retire. Result, 10 million job openings, unemployment fixed. They must buy a new British car. Result, 10 million cars ordered, car industry fixed. They must either buy a house or pay off their mortgage, housing crisis fixed. They must send their kids to school, college or university, crime rate fixed. They must buy £100 worth of alcohol or tobacco a week and there's your money back in duty tax. It can't get any easier than that. P.S. If more money is needed, have all members of Parliament pay back their falsely claimed expenses and second home allowances. As a secondary action, put all the pensioners in jail and the criminals in nursing homes. This way, the pensioners would have access to showers, hobbies and walks. They'd receive unlimited free prescriptions, dental and medical treatment, wheelchairs, etc. They'd receive money instead of paying it out. They'd have constant video monitoring so they could be helped instantly if they fell or needed assistance. Bedding would be washed twice a week and all clothing would be ironed and returned to them. A guard check on them every 20 minutes and bring their meals and snacks to their cell. They would have family visits in a suite built for that purpose. There would be easy access to a library, weight room, spiritual counselling, pool and education. Simple clothing, shoes, slippers, PJs and legal aid would be free. Private, secure rooms with an exercise outdoor yard and gardens. Each OAP would have a PC, a TV, radio and daily phone calls. There would be a board of directors to hear complaints, and guards would have a code of conduct strictly adhered to. On the other hand, the criminals would get cold food, be left all alone and unsupervised for most of the time. Lights would go out at 8 p.m. and showers once a week. Living space would be a tiny room and pay £600 per week and have no hope of getting out. The result? Remove any inclination to re-offend. Please think about these ideas seriously.
Well, some food for thought there. I wonder how the press will respond to those ideas. And I'm sure we'll hear some interesting comments from our listeners in our next voting programme. We're now going to hear from our outside broadcast reports again. You may not know, but Sir Noah has been around a bit and has experienced a wealth of knowledge and experience from his travels serving in the Royal Navy. We felt that as a radio station, we would like to hear a little more of his vast knowledge. So we're now going to hear him being interviewed by Percy Vere. So over to you now, Percy.
Well, thank you, Henrietta. Good evening, Admiral. You are an Admiral, aren't you?
Yes, and I have an Admiral's hat.
Oh, I see. Very nice. How many Admirals are there in the Royal Navy?
46 Admirals and 88 Commodores.
And how many ships?
25.
Isn't that rather a lot?
Yes, it is rather a lot, yes. But you must remember that the modern Navy is very highly technologically advanced. For example, we have just ordered 2 new aircraft carriers, which will be the largest ships ever to be sailed by the Royal Navy in its entire history.
Yes, indeed. These are the HMS Prince of Wales
Yes, that's right.
and the HMS Camilla Parker Bowles.
Oh, no. That was the original idea. But the Queen said that she couldn't really bring herself to say, I named this ship Camilla Parker Bowles, may God bless all who sail in her. So it's now going to be called the HMS Queen Elizabeth.
Ah, I see. And how much will they cost?
£3.9 billion, and they come into service in 2014 and 2016.
What are they for?
They each weigh 65,000 tons.
That's an awful lot of ship, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's very heavy, yes.
And what are they for?
They are 6 metres higher than Nelson's Column.
Yes, and what are they for?
And the flight decks have room for 49 tennis courts, and the hangars are the size of 12 Olympic-sized swimming pools. And you're probably going to want to ask me what they're for.
Yes.
Well, I think I can do no better than choose the words of the Defence Secretary, Des Brown, who said that these ships will ensure that we can increase our strategic effort around the world.
Well, that's very encouraging and comforting to know. But how do these huge and enormously expensive aircraft carriers actually operate?
Well, on an aircraft carrier, as its name implies, it carries aircraft.
Oh, and what sort of aircraft?
Well, I'm sorry you asked that question, because at the moment we can only afford the carriers or the aircraft, but not both.
Doesn't that present some sort of difficulty then?
Well, yes, it does, certainly, yes, some difficulty. But I'm sure we'll find a way around it.
Care to enumerate how?
Well, taxation will probably do the trick. We've actually chosen an aircraft to go in these carriers. It's the Joint Strike Fighter, the F-35B, which we are buying from the Americans.
Ah. And you've chosen these planes because they are obviously the right ones for the job?
Absolutely. Very much so. Yes, it's the right kind. It's called the Stover, the short takeoff and vertical landing aircraft, and it's been in development for 15 years.
Goodness me, well that must mean that it is actually an excellent aircraft then.
I haven't got the faintest idea, because it's not ready yet.
Oh. And now what?
Well, because there's been some problems with it.
Such as?
Well, on takeoff it generates 500 degrees Celsius of heat underneath it, which is sufficient to destroy the flight deck of any known aircraft carrier. The jet draft is 70 to 80 miles per hour, which on a ship already sailing at 30 knots means that a wind the force of a hurricane will be blowing across the flight deck, thus blowing anybody who is not already fried into the sea.
So why are we buying these aircraft for this carrier, which is costing us billions already?
Because I've only just found out about these problems, and in any case, by the time the aircraft comes into service, I'll be long retired, and so will most of my colleagues. So it'll be somebody else's problem.
That sounds about right. So actually, you've actually ordered these planes, have we? Couldn't we get them from somewhere else?
You must remember that America is our biggest ally, but they have actually stipulated in the agreement to buy the plane that we can't use them outside the UK.
Isn't that somewhat limiting?
Well, possibly, yes. But it will come in handy if we have any trouble with the Scottish Nationals.
If I can just recap then, so the likelihood is that these aircraft carriers come into service in 2014, they're going to have to spend the first 6 or 7 years of their service going around the oceans without any aircraft?
Without any aircraft on them, yes, yes, yes. Of course, we could put the Harrier into it, the plane we use on our other carriers.
They are actually a very tried and trusted aircraft, are they?
Oh, very tried and trusted, yes, yes. They first came into service in 1969, and it's a very good piece of kit, providing you don't use it against the country which has its own air force.
Oh. So we would have to find an enemy without an air force.
Ideally, yes.
Oh, dear me. Now, you are confident that these carriers will be delivered on time, or is it likely that they will get behind schedule?
Yes, very likely they'll be behind schedule. But then, this is Britain.
So Noah, thank you very much.
I think there's nothing more to be said. Except, well, friends, our team here, I am sure, are in need of a break, and perhaps you are too. So we are temporarily going off air. You can buy refreshments of cakes and teas, coffees, etc., as the cafe will be serving for another 15 minutes approximately. And of course, don't forget to buy your raffle tickets if you haven't already done so. Auntie Sheila's waiting for you at the table. And the raffle will be drawn immediately after the break. So, see you soon, but before you go, remember, you are listening to Radio HaHa, transmitting to you from Cafe Royale on 69.92 FM, not on digital and not online.